Yeah, certainly not the outcome that I was hopeful for today, and we started very slow. I think that both teams were, yeah, pretty evenly matched going into the game. However, we turned the ball over 4 times, one for a touchdown, and we had a block punt, and then a failed attempt from the 1 yard line with 2 plays to push it in. And rather than making it more than that, and there's plenty of things still to follow up on, we started slow. Those 6 plays, in and of themselves, were the difference in the game, but lots and lots of things that can be improved from where I thought we were, and today made it clear that we weren't as far along as I anticipated. So I'll be glad to take questions.
Yeah, Bronco. Lennon took a pretty vicious shot to the head. How is he doing? And Lindell was obviously thrown into a tough situation. What were your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, I was just told that Brennan was out for the game. I can't and don't know any more information at this point. I thought Lindell did a really nice job of leading our team, um, and giving us a chance to fight back and and to possibly change the outcome and to come from behind. So I think he did a really nice job, showed a lot of courage, a lot of grit, and saw the field well. And yeah, I think that our team also responded well just to seeing his effort.
Bronco, it seemed like in that first half, even as they were building that lead, that if you could get a big play or two, it would have brought you right back. Is it frustrating that you didn't seem to have the firepower to get that big play anywhere in there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good assessment. It was as if everyone was waiting and just knowing that it's going to happen, but it didn't. And and so that was the reality is we needed it to happen and it didn't happen. And so, we needed a few key stops on defense, and it didn't happen. And we needed a touchdown from the one, and it didn't happen. And we just weren't consistent enough, didn't execute well enough, and didn't earn the victory. Just, bottom line, didn't make the plays we needed to. And it never felt like that the game would get away from us. It just seemed like 1 or 2 plays, and yeah, we'd be right back in it and have a chance to win it at the end. But there were enough miscues, either through not getting a great punt at the right time, or kicking a ball out of bounds, or a turnover for a touchdown, or we're driving the ball and we turn it over. There's way too many miscues um, to change the outcome of the game today.
Coach, I imagine it was a relatively disappointed locker room after the game. What do you tell the players when they come out and sort of have a performance well below their standards?
Yeah, I talked more than I normally talk um, in that setting because after the game, there's so many emotions, and I can be wrong a lot. Right coming off the field like that. But I didn't think that we approached the game as we normally do in our own stadium, and we've been so successful here over the past couple of years. Um, and I'm not going to say that, or not going to jump to the conclusion they took it for granted. We just didn't prepare or compete or execute at a level well enough to maintain the outcome that we wanted. And that really was the answer. And I do think the second half, our team played more competitively, with a better mindset and more urgency. Um, but a half isn't enough, or parts of a half isn't enough. And so we're certainly learning to sustain, start to end, clean football, competitive football, and effective football to have the outcome that we want.
Well, let's go with Brad Franklin, Preston Willett, Doug Dowdy.
Coach, you mentioned the other day that you were thinking, in light of the positives last week, that you would make some changes. I don't know, practice structure or things around the queue. You didn't have any positives this week. Did you change anything from a practice perspective? And maybe is that part of maybe what you saw today?
Yeah, no, we didn't change anything from a practice structure. We did change things from a locker room arrangement and timing and rotation and players' exposure to each other off the field. So there weren't on the field changes, but there were off the field changes that I think were effective.
Coach, you already said that this was not at the level that you thought you were. It was below. What is this a reality check for this team?
Yeah, I think it is. I don't have a better word for it right now. You could substitute a lot of words in there, wake up call, or to me, it's just more information now. And my job's to predict it, right? Try to anticipate where we are and how we'll play. and I didn't see it coming, not the first half. And so, right, I have to do a better job of anticipating and seeing it. But I was, man, I really thought our preparation was strong, and I thought we were in a different place after the first 2 games. So I was surprised. I think the team was surprised. And so with that happening and kind of playing out, there was processing going on, and then, whoa. And then it was kind of a more intentional game the second half, which I think was after kind of realizing, wait, we have a lot of work to do, is what I think the sentiment was as a team after half one.
What is that Joey Blunt situation?
I don't have enough information to even pass that on right now. Joey was ruled out of the game last night or yesterday, and so yeah, I don't have any other information at this point. Hopefully, I can share more next week. But that certainly affects our defense.
Go ahead, Doug Gowdy's and Jeff White and Lawrence Johnson. Doug, you're muted.
Bronco,
Yes.
I believe this is the second time in 3 games that you haven't had a sack. What do you concerned about your pass rush ball?
Yeah, so we had, I think we had 6 in game 1, only 1 in game 2, and now none in game 3. So, yes, teams are doing a better job of keeping extra blockers in, using play action, and getting the ball out more quickly. And then we have to do a better job in our secondary of making more plays, knocking more balls down, intercepting balls to make sure that then it can't be just protection only. So those two things have influenced. Again, there have been more blockers in not only Clemson but today, but then our secondary has to make more plays. While NC State didn't throw the ball effectively for lots of yards today, at the beginning of the game they had key catches at critical times, and then we adjusted and our execution became better. But yeah, pressure-wise, we have some work to do.
Bronco, in each of these 3 games, the offense has ended up putting up a lot of yards and scoring a decent amount of points, but you have yet to score a first quarter touchdown. Are the coaches kind of perplexed by that phenomenon, or
Yeah, I would.
early that you start doing late?
Yeah, no, it was targeted going into the Duke game, and even double emphasis after the Duke game, and then even more emphasis after the Clemson game. And so, yeah, I would say that it has been targeted. It certainly hasn't been targeted effectively yet. Otherwise, the outcome, right? Outcome usually reflects preparation and the proper planning and the right solutions. And so we haven't cracked that code yet. Otherwise, we would be starting faster.
Hey, Coach, with the anticipation of Brendan being in the concussion protocol, have you thought about the possibility of opening the competition up to where you have Mendenhall and Keaton Thompson competing for the start for next game, because your offense typically seems to be more effective when you have a dual threat quarterback?
Hey, we'll reevaluate once we know about Brennan. Then we'll reevaluate where we are at quarterback. And again, I was really happy with what Lindell did today. I loved his leadership and his effectiveness, and that's right. The best information gives you the best chance to make decisions. And when I have the information, then we'll consider what our best options are.
Thank you. Let's go with Mike Barber, then Bennett, and then Ryan Franklin, and then we'll round there off.
Yeah, Coach, I asked you about the need for a big play in that first half. You did in the second half get the fake punt. I'm curious what you saw there, what you liked about the execution, and did that feel like a moment you were getting back into the game?
Oh yeah, I think everyone knew that, and the score was cut to a manageable number, and I really believe there was a belief at that point we're going to win the game, and then we execute our way through it and finish. That the punt is something that we've worked on. NC State's an aggressive block team, and that's one of the ways you counter them. And obviously their block worked, right? They blocked one of our punts and changed field position, and it's really frustrating and not okay. And so one of the countermeasures is to make him pay through a fake punt, and that's what we did.
Just so I'm clear, is Keaton with his shoulder, is he an option at quarterback physically?
Remains to be seen. You know, since we moved him to wide receiver, we really hadn't gone back to revisit that because of how Brennan was doing, and we have Lindell backing up and Iris coming along. So we really hadn't been revisiting that closely enough because we liked where we were headed.
Coach, going back to the slow starts, is there anything that you've seen through the first 3 weeks that seems like a commonality in those starts, or is it sort of still kind of perplexing at this point?
More perplexing at this point. I think just enough differences amongst opponents, enough uncertainty with a developing quarterback and some new players offensively at tight end and at receiver in Tony and Lavelle, and so just not quite cohesive enough execution, precision, and quite frankly, it's just a little bit off in terms of the chemistry, execution, and coordination right from the beginning. It seems to build over the game, but replicating that or having that coming into the game, there's still a lag there, and I'm seeing it, and I think the difference of looks from each team is it's taking those guys just a while to get adjusted.
Not having Aaron Kamui this season seems to be a little bit on your defensive line. How would you assess the play up front?
I like the fundamentals, and I like the run defense, especially of how our front is doing. And I think that, I would say solid to this point. We haven't been as dynamic in rushing the passer. We haven't been as productive in rushing the passer, but that wasn't only defensive line production. So our collective front seven, we've got to find ways to pressure the quarterback at a higher level. But I think in general, the run component of the front is probably ahead of the pass component.
Brad Franklin with our last question, and we'll have Richard Birdie join in.
I just went, Dave. I just went, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jerry Franklin, I didn't use you real quick, Jerry.
Bronco, we haven't seen Mendenhall in the last couple of years. Can you just talk a little bit about what he brings to the table?
I missed the first part of that. Could you repeat?
We haven't seen Mendenhall during the past couple of years. Can you just talk about what he brings to the table?
Yeah, Lindell brings poise, maturity, clarity, confidence, and he just sees the field like a coach from that position. And so he brought just a sense of calm, I think, to the offense, and just rhythmically and sequentially was making the throws that were open. Later in the game, forcing some throws, trying to just accelerate because we were running out of time. But when he did have enough time, in terms of managing the game, he was just taking what the defense gave him and throwing and delivering, I think, the ball really well.